Tony Blair happened to arrive at dawn of a January day in 2010 to give evidence at the Chilcot inquiry to the sound of a single tolling bell. Some of those who waited outside might have considered that apt.
That a public inquiry in this country could compel a former Prime Minister to come and give evidence twice demonstrates quite how powerful public inquiries can be. But what are they actually for?
I think there's one fundamental purpose to a public inquiry, and that's to allay public concern. Public concern is always what leads to a public inquiry, and the entire stratagem is to get rid of that public concern, to satisfy it.
Perhaps the most interesting example of that recently would be the Savile inquiry into the events of Bloody Sunday, set up with a clear remit, a political purpose as part of a process, 10 years long, hugely expensive, and ending with what few in the nationalist community of Northern Ireland could have predicted: a word and a cheer.
I am deeply sorry.
An example of an inquiry that had a lasting consequence was the Macpherson inquiry, which forced the Met to tackle institutional racism in its ranks.
Actually, the most interesting thing about public inquiries is the public, because we seem to hold in our heads two things that are opposed simultaneously. One, that they're long and they're expensive and they don't really achieve anything, and at the same time that they are the only way we will ever get to the bottom of something we find profoundly fishy and do not want investigated by politicians.
People think in general terms, well, why are we spending £200 million on some Northern Irish people? On the other hand, if the same thing had happened to them, would you leave it to the state to do something behind closed doors? Would you like it dealt with openly, publicly, fundamentally properly?
But by no means are all public inquiries a success. So the key for the Leveson inquiry into press ethics will be to avoid for witnesses and public alike the pitfalls of overblown expectation, narrowed remits or political muddying of waters. To too many final reports, the public verdict has been too little, too late.